I would love to hear your perspective, Your Majesty, on the whole issue with Iran. What should we be doing, if anything? Do you think the U.S. government is on the right track?
Well, Global Zero, actually, the action plan and the mission of Global Zero, the movement that I'm one of several founding leaders of, that are former heads of state and defense ministers, military commanders, experts in this field, and architects of the nuclear programs in a variety of the nuclear states, the action plan sets out a framework for a phased, verified elimination of nuclear weapons that is possible in decades, in 2 decades even. It lays out how that might be achieved. What is important about that plan, and why I'm using it to answer your question, is that it holds first the United States and Russia responsible for making another set of cuts after the START Treaty, God willing, is ratified by the Congress. They move on to the next phase of cutting down to 1,000 nuclear weapons each, and then to bring in the rest of the nuclear states into multilateral negotiations to freeze their stockpiles, and then together all nuclear states should begin to move towards zero in a way that no state is left vulnerable. This is not unilateral, immediate destruction of anyone's stockpile. The United States nor any other country will be left vulnerable and exposed. This is a framework for a collective movement in which there are no exceptions and no double standards. And when you have a framework, I believe, from my experience living and working in a range of conflict regions around the world, watching the psychology of leaders and of entire nations and communities, if you apply disproportionate pressure or exceptional pressure on any state to and do so by humiliating and marginalizing any state, you're far less likely to get the response
I think
that
we have
you're
to
looking
credit
for.
President Obama that the belligerence is not there.
Engagement,
and
dialogue,
is there,
and mutual
is there,
respect.
and
This
respect,
is the way that you will achieve your objectives. And within an international framework in which everyone is moving in the same direction towards zero, you'll have the greatest possible chance of discouraging states who really can't afford to put all this enormous amount of money into weapons when they should be looking after their fundamental human security needs of their peoples. But you will also create a framework in which states can be politically, economically, and culturally sanctioned. And you will have the international community behind that, because this is a framework that applies to everyone in a fair and balanced way.
Jonathan, I know you were in Iran recently,
Yes.
and then before that you were in India as well.
Yes.
What was the reaction to what you had to say?
Well, in India, I was at a fairly small conference hosted by the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister of India publicly said at that India would join in negotiating a nuclear weapons convention, abolishing nuclear weapons universally.
And yet I know, Lawrence, he was reluctant to meet you because we tried to get that meeting, remember?
Yes,
But
we tried to get him on film.
Yeah, he didn't want to go on film. Why
And they haven't signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty,
No.
nor
As
has
well.
Pakistan or Israel.
But
I want to come to that.
I didn't get to the but.
Yeah.
But they will not live in a nuclear apartheid world where they are a sixth of the world's population, and they feel threatened by the 95% of the world's nuclear arsenals in the hands of Russia and the United States. But they are committed to a nuclear weapons-free world, but they won't lead. This is the point that Queen Noor articulated, that you have to have a uniform standard. To ask countries to cooperate on long-term environmental responsibility and forsake short-term economic benefits in a two-tiered security world where some countries say we have a right to threaten annihilation of everybody. On Monday, we'll threaten you, and then on Tuesday cooperate. It's just not possible. The distortions of the media in the United States in giving the people of America a clear picture of what the world looks like from, say, India, where you're a sixth of the world's population, and and the government is expected to say we will remain vulnerable while others have these